Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. And Dr. Yellen, welcome and thank you for your past service to the country and for your willingness to serve in this capacity. I look forward to working with you, but I have to admit that the contours of the stimulus bill as proposed by the Biden administration are going to make that difficult. The ink is barely dry on the second largest stimulus package in American history. Nearly $1 trillion after nearly $3 trillion earlier in the year. And we're looking at another spending blowout. The only organizing principle that I can discern is it seems to spend as much money as possible, seemingly for the sake of spending it. An additional $1,400 per person, regardless of the person's circumstances, guaranteeing that there'll be several $1,000s in payments going to families with six-figure incomes who've had no income interruption whatsoever, just makes absolutely no sense. Increasing unemployment payments such that a majority of unemployed workers will make more money being unemployed than they make working can only slow the return to a normal, healthy labor market. Sending states more money than they've lost in lost revenue or in additional spending is just not a good idea. And I completely agree with Senator Scott. Obviously, an arbitrary government mandated minimum wage increase is going to cost jobs. If not, then of course we would just raise the minimum wage to $20 or $30 or $50 an hour. Obviously, it will result in some job losses. So these proposals are not targeted at those people who really need them. It can't be justified on the grounds of effectiveness. And it's going to be hard to get to a bipartisan agreement based on this. I will say I'm pleased to hear your testimony that you think that the tax increases, the really massive tax increases that President-elect Biden is proposing, will be delayed. Which, by the way, is implicit economic damage that those tax increases will do. It's quite a staggering list. Huge increases in individual rates, adding a 12.4% payroll tax on upper income people. We'll have many Americans with combined state and local marginal tax rates well into the 60 percentages. Huge increases on corporate America, which will make America a less attractive place to headquarter a multinational company, which will make it less attractive to invest here. And I would point out that we reached record low unemployment rates and rising wages, especially for lowest income people after our tax reform. Not sure why we want to go back on that. But let me zero in on one particular idea that some of our colleagues have suggested, and I think Senator Wyden was alluding to this during his opening comments. And this is the idea that, separate and apart from the Biden administration's proposal to double the taxes on capital gains, some are suggesting that we start to impose taxes on unrealized gains. An asset appreciates and we charge a tax on that, even though there's no liquidity event, there's no sale, there's no actual realized gain. We'll, I guess, have a mark to market, if that's even possible in some cases, and impose a tax on that. So my question for you, Dr. Yellen, is, without getting into any particular bill, do you support the idea of taxing unrealized appreciation of assets?
Well, I do believe that capital gains should at some point be taxed. Right now, step up of basis at death provides a route by which a very large share of capital gains are never taxed at all.
That's a separate issue. That's a distinct issue. The idea of an annual tax on an unrealized appreciation of assets is what I'm asking about.
Well, what I wanted to say is that there is simply different ways of addressing the issue of how to make sure that some taxes are collected on capital gains. And this mark-to-market approach is one method, but certainly not the only method. And there may be technical challenges associated with it. So I would want to have the administration look at different approaches.
And Mr. Chairman, are we operating on a 5-minute clock?
Yes, we are, and your time just ran out, but
I see that. I look forward to the second round.